Hey everyone, Sam here, otherwise known as FPL Pricey. In today's essential guide ahead of Game Week 9, I will be taking a look at all of the best players in each position for Game Week 9 and over the next 5 game weeks, the team strength modelling including clean sheet and team goal odds over the next 5, and of course captaincy projections for the next stretch as well. Welcome to another video on my channel. Today we're going to be running through all of the essential information to help you get set up ahead of Game Week 9 with the help of Solio Analytics, the modelling tool that I use. If you wanted to give it a go yourself, the link is in the description below. If you enjoyed today's video, I'd massively appreciate it if you could leave a like and hit subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on any future content. Let's start off by talking about the forwards ahead of Game Week 9 specifically. No surprises whatsoever to see Erling Haaland coming out on top by quite a margin. Even with mediocre fixtures now, he's going to be at the top of the ranking. He's just in sensational form. He's got penalties and he gets great minutes as well. It gets a bit more interesting after that, seeing João Pedro second in the rankings. Despite being in pretty horrendous form, the models are still suggesting he's a pretty good pick with good fixtures to come. And given it's a home fixture against Sunderland, he's got pretty good odds of scoring in that one. He should also be safe for minutes given his suspension in the midweek in the Champions League tie. Beyond that, Gyökeres and Isak, both quite expensive picks that are not exactly returning on those price points just yet. Gyökeres still has the fixtures to make him a reasonable hold in my books anyway. And Isak, I'd be less confident on given his performances as of late. Ekitike is waiting in the wings as well. I'd be less than confident at 10.6 million. Evanilson sneaking in there as well with a decent fixture at home to Nottingham Forest. Do wait to hear more on his fitness. It could be Krupi Jr. starting once again in that role if Evanilson isn't quite ready for Game Week 9. Beyond that, one of the surprises is probably Voltemade not ranking a little bit more highly. He's off to a great start to life in a Newcastle shirt, 4 goals in 5 game weeks. Not a bad home fixture against Fulham in Game Week 9. So I'm a little bit surprised not to see him ranking a bit higher with Game Week 9 in mind. So interestingly, if we map out the next 5 game weeks, Voltemade drops off of the top 10 altogether. Now, that would be under the assumption that Yoane Wissa comes back into the 11 and gets fit at some point in the next few game weeks. But even if that does happen, I still think Voltemade's minutes are fairly secure. So one of the beautiful things that you can do with Solio is you can mess around with the expected minutes yourself. And if you do so, Voltemade does appear a lot higher up on this graphic. Moving past Voltemade for now, though, João Pedro still ranks very highly, mainly down to the fixtures over the next 4 game weeks. After Game Week 12, I think a lot more people will be looking to get rid. And if you're not a fixtures-led manager, then you might be looking at getting rid now. But I still think there are good enough games in the next 4 weeks to see him come good on his price point at 7.5 million. Couple of other interesting ones. Mateta, once we get Game Week 9 out of the way, away at Arsenal, he starts to rank really highly in the expected points. So he's going to start rising up this leaderboard very quickly over the next 5 game weeks. It's just that Game Week 9 fixture, as you can see, 3.13 expected points away at Arsenal. That brings him down a little bit in the rankings there. But if you can get past that one, or if you think that he's going to outperform that against Arsenal, he's a fantastic buy very, very shortly, especially from Game Week 10 onwards. Moving on to the midfielders ahead of Game Week 9, Salah coming out on top at the moment, but given his recent form and the fact that Liverpool are struggling, I'd be surprised to see anyone prioritising him as a transfer in this week. In fact, a lot of managers are probably going to be looking at divesting away from that position and spreading the funds elsewhere. I think that's completely understandable. He's always going to rank highly in these sort of models because he's got so many seasons of great numbers, including expected minutes, but also penalties and underlying data as well. So it's going to take a little while for the models to start to downgrade him in their thinking. However, he's not in great form, so I do understand why some people are moving away from him. I moved away from him personally around about Game Week 6, and I don't regret doing so. Beyond that, Bukayo Saka, even with a pretty tough fixture against Crystal Palace, is now ranking pretty highly in the expected points and second amongst all midfielders in Game Week 9. He looks like he's got the minutes secure at the moment, and we think he's got penalties. So a very good purchase at 10 million right now. Bruno Fernandes back in our thinking once again after an assist and 3 bonus points in game week 8 against Liverpool. Good fixtures to come, which is also why the likes of Cunha and Mbeumo are ranking in the top 10 in this week. But also when we move across, they're going to be ranking pretty highly in the next 5 game weeks as well. The likes of Ndai, Semenyo and Enzo, all good purchases this week, especially Enzo if he's marked fit ahead of game week 9. We'll know a little bit more after the Ajax game in the midweek, so fingers crossed on him. But if he is deemed fit, he's a great purchase at 6.7 million. Also, Ndai in fantastic form right now, great value for money at 6.5 million too. So not a great deal of difference when we start mapping out over the next 5 game weeks for midfielders. Salah still ranking very highly. I've already explained that one. Saka, Bruno Fernandes and Ndai all have penalty share, all look like good picks over the next stretch. Then we start looking at some of the newer entries. You've got the likes of Cunha and Mbeumo, the Man United assets as promised, with some good fixtures to come. Could be good purchases. I would probably prefer Mbeumo out of the two right now. Just looks a little bit more secure for minutes. Obviously, Cunha played in game week 8, but that was in place of Benjamin Sesko, who has actually looked in good form himself. So I don't think Cunha's minutes are as secure as someone like Bryan Mbeumo. Another new entry over the next 5 game weeks is Ismaila Sarr, a bit like Mateta, as we've already talked about. Once game week 9 is out of the way, he looks like a fantastic option over the next stretch. Do mind out that he is going to go off to the African Cup of Nations around game week 17, as is Salah, Ndai and Mbeumo, by the way. So all of those, if you're going to look at purchasing any of them, just have that in mind for the future. We will get 5 free transfers, but if you have 4 or 5 of them in your team at that time, it's going to pretty much burn through all of the free transfers all at once. So just one to mark out for the future. Moving across to the game week 9 defenders, no surprises to see 3 Arsenal defenders ranking in the top 10, Gabriel, Saliba and Timber. Timber's a little bit lower down because of the expected minutes in the models, but you can tweak them, and as soon as you do bump them up to around the same sort of level of Gabriel and Saliba, he ranks just as highly as both of them. Gabriel is about as close to essential as a defender can really get right now. No player is completely essential, but he just has so many routes to points. I would definitely want him in my FPL side as quickly as possible if I didn't have him. Moving beyond Arsenal defenders, Senesi and Truffert, both with a good home fixture against Nottingham Forest. I like both of them. Truffert, a little bit of a differential. You could also look at Diakite potentially. After that, you've got Chelsea players, Chalobah and Cucurella. Again, a good run of fixtures coming. So if you're looking for a defender that isn't an Arsenal defender, Chelsea could be an interesting route at the moment with good defensive fixtures to come. They've got pretty good clean sheet odds, as we'll come on to in a moment's time later on in the video. Other players that are ranking in there, Tarkowski. You might also want to look at Michael Keane, by the way, with Branthwaite out for an extended period. He's having surgery tomorrow at time of recording. So Michael Keane looks locked into that Everton defence. That could be interesting. And then you've got Trippier also just about making the top 10, getting better minutes all of a sudden. And Newcastle, of course, are a good defence. Looking at the extended horizon of 5 game weeks, again, Arsenal players coming out on top defensively here. Tarkowski starts to climb the rankings because Everton are a good defence and they've got some reasonable fixtures over the next run. Anderson also moving up into the top 10, but also into the top 4. He is a major doubt going into game week 9. I am very worried about his fitness as someone looking at bench boosting with him in my team. But after that, his minutes look good. He gets DEFCON and they've got some good fixtures as well. So I wouldn't be trying to get rid of him anytime soon if you've got him in your side. Hopefully he's not out for too long. Maybe he even plays in game week 9, and if he does, he's a great value pick at just 4.5 million with some good fixtures coming. Other new entries, you've got Virgil van Dijk. Not a great performance in game week 8, but still doing really well on the defensive contribution points and good fixtures over the next run, especially from game week 12 onwards. I don't think that we've seen the end of Virgil van Dijk in our FPL sides this season. We've also got 2 Crystal Palace players making the top 10, Lacroix and Munoz. I'm a little bit surprised that Munoz isn't ranking more highly. I think it's mainly because the models are still suggesting that Lacroix is the defensive contributions monster. But so far, we're not really seeing that play out on the pitch. So if I had the money, I'd be going with Munoz over Lacroix or over Richards. But again, if I had about 5.1 million spare, I would still probably be going with Richards or even Gahey over Lacroix at time of recording as well. So taking a look at the goalkeepers ahead of game week 9, I wouldn't be recommending a goalkeeper transfer in most normal circumstances. If you've got one of the top 10 here, you're probably going to be just fine. Even Dubravka at the bottom end of this top 10 is absolutely fine and a very playable keeper this game week. Raya comes out on top, as he will most game weeks, and an elite defence for Arsenal. After that, you've got Pope. Again, a very tight defence, and I do expect Pope to do well over the next run. Sanchez and Petrovic, both with decent fixtures. Sanchez, especially over the next run, like I've just mentioned, with the likes of Chelsea defence, wouldn't be looking at getting rid of him in a hurry whatsoever. And then looking across at the next 5 game weeks for goalkeepers, again, I'd reiterate there's not much between the top position and maybe 10th or 11th position in terms of expected points. So I wouldn't be rushing to make goalkeeper transfers unless you get an injury in your keeper position. Raya coming out on top over the next 5 with Pope in second place. Both great goalkeepers for the next stretch. Petrovic ranking pretty well still with good fixtures to come for Bournemouth. But honestly, if you've got any of the top 10 here, I wouldn't be rushing to get rid of them. Even Sanchez, down in 8th, surprisingly enough, I believe has good enough fixtures to hold on to for the next stretch. So let's move on to the team projections for the next 5 game weeks. Clean sheet odds first up. And again, a good reminder as to why Arsenal players are ranking so highly, especially defensively. Great odds of clean sheets over the next 5. In 4 of the next 5 game weeks, they've got over a 40% chance of a clean sheet. Even in pretty tough matches like Crystal Palace and Spurs, they have an over 40% chance of a clean sheet, which is very, very high. And in 2 matches, they've got over 50%. So again, almost unheard of in FPL, having back-to-back 50% odds of a clean sheet. They're expected to get 2.18 clean sheets over the next 5 on average. I think that's more than good enough to be backing them as a double up in defence. After that, you've got Chelsea, Newcastle and Man City, all with good odds of clean sheets over the next 5. If I've got coverage on any of those in my FPL side, I'd be very happy as an FPL manager. Moving down, Liverpool ranking a little bit more low than we'd normally expect them to, but they have looked a little weaker defensively this season. And although the fixtures are good on paper, I wouldn't say they're quite as good from a defensive point of view. A lot of these opponents are pretty good offensively, whereas I would expect Liverpool to score a good amount of goals. Clean sheet odds might be a little bit lower. Bournemouth still ranking pretty high for a team with a lot of cheaper assets in there. So if you wanted to pad out your side with decent defenders at a cheaper price point, Bournemouth are definitely in there. Anderson at Fulham, if he's fit, looks like a great bet. And again, like I mentioned, Michael Keane for Everton with good clean sheet odds over the next 5 game weeks might not be a bad differential pickup either. So moving across to the team goal projections over the next 5 game weeks, Liverpool coming out on top by a little bit of a distance. And although their fixtures from a defensive point of view might not be the easiest, as I mentioned, I'd still expect them to score plenty of goals over the next run. In fact, they're the only club out of all 20 to be expected to score over 2 goals a game week on average over the next 5 weeks. So if you can pick out the right Liverpool asset, I still think returns are on the menu. It's just a matter of trying to figure out, with the goals spread around a little bit more than in recent seasons, which Liverpool asset is going to be the best value for money. That's the million-dollar question right now. After that, Arsenal come in second, so still a good attack, but I would prioritise them defensively because they are a standout great defence, whereas with the attacking assets, you do have other teams that are ranking fairly closely to them. I do really like the look of Bukayo Saka, though, over the next stretch. After that, Man City come in third, so not standout amazing fixtures for attacking returns, but given Erling Haaland's goal share in that side, I'd still expect him to do very well over the next stretch. Chelsea coming in fourth, so the likes of João Pedro and Enzo Fernandez still look like they're going to return pretty reasonably over the next stretch. And then as we start to move down, Man United and Newcastle ranking fairly well. If we're moving towards the mid-table, Crystal Palace, after Arsenal are out the way, don't look too bad as well. So if you've got Ismaila Sarr, you can also look at Jean-Philippe Mateta. Both look like good options. Even Daniel Munoz gets plenty of attacking returns. So as a defender, looks like a pretty reasonable option as well. As we move towards the bottom of the graph, we're looking at teams like Nottingham Forest, Brentford, Fulham, West Ham even, Leeds United. A few of us have picks from those teams. We might not be expecting a ton of goals over the next few game weeks. So it's all about picking the talismanic figures in those sides who are going to supply the odd goal for us. So wrapping up today's video with a quick look at the best captains over the next 5 game weeks, I find it very interesting that Mo Salah is still being recommended as the top option in 4 of the next 5 weeks. That is mainly down to the fact that the models are expecting Liverpool to score the most goals, and historically at least, Mo Salah has taken the majority of that goal share in that Liverpool side. I do think things are slightly changing now with Liverpool though, and his expected minutes might not be quite as good as we've seen in recent seasons. So again, in Solio, you can manually tweak those. You can bring down the expected minutes for Salah. You can bring down his goal share, or you can bring down the overall team strength of Liverpool. And if you do any of those, I think Erling Haaland starts to rank as a much better captaincy option in the next few game weeks. And it might bring the models slightly more in line with recent trends that seem to be emerging in the 25-26 season. Nevertheless, Erling Haaland is still ranking very highly. He's the best captaincy option in game week 11 and very close to in the other game weeks. Also, interestingly, Bukayo Saka is ranking very highly. In fact, he's technically the second best captaincy option in terms of expected points in game week 9, ahead of Erling Haaland, which I find very interesting. With that in mind, I think Bukayo Saka is a very good pickup ahead of this next stretch. If not a captaincy option necessarily, definitely a good option to just have in your 11 if you can possibly squeeze him in. Anyway, as we reach the end of today's video, I'd massively appreciate it if you could leave a like and hit subscribe if you enjoyed the content. We've got more daily content coming at you in the next couple of days to help you get set up for game week 9.